Hello, everyone. Welcome back to G-Dub's Point of View. I'm your host, G-Dub. We are here for day 4 of the G1 Climax tournament this year. I want to thank everybody for all the recent activity. Leaving comments. I really appreciate it. It helps me kind of think about some scenarios, and it helps kind of create this channel path between us. So I appreciate all the comments and all the attention lately. So thank you very much. To get right into it, I think day 4 was a great day. We'll talk later. This is being recorded on Friday morning. I haven't watched day 5 yet, and I saw that the Wrestling Observer had put out the ratings for the first 4 days, so we're going to look into that. I have a couple of disagreements, I think, but I think they're very minimal disagreements. I actually did write some notes down for today, so my thoughts will be a little more collected than usual. But it has been a full day since I've watched this. Wrote my notes down. The only tag match note I had written was for the Hangman Page and Okada tag. Was the Okada kind of comes in as the big smiley weirdo that he's been, and then Page kind of gets into him. At the end, Chase gets the pin, and then Page and Okada have this big stare down, and Okada's gets real serious and is looking to fight all of a sudden. So I think that spells really good for their match tomorrow. It's the old Okada's kind of coming out a little bit instead of the weird psychopath Okada that we've been having. So yeah, I thought that was the only real tag note of mention there. So the first match of the night was Sonata and Tama Tonga. I thought this match was good. It's just a pretty standard match. I had wrote down that these guys had really good and smooth chemistry. I think that comes with them as well, just being really good athletes. It's hard not to like how they wrestle. They might not be the best wrestlers, but the style that they go for and how silky smooth they are around the ring is really fun to watch. I also made a note. This is the first ejection. Of course, with all the Fale and Tama Tonga stories in the tournament, is they're constantly doing the interference angles. They're constantly looking to get outside help. But this was the first ejection. I liked it because it helped set up the story later on in the match of Fale and Loa coming out in disguise with a hat on of trying to help Tama out, and but it sets a precedent for the rest of the tournament of the fact that there's going to be more ejections and disqualifications and that kind of thing. So I liked it because it was a good change, and it sets a precedent for the rest of the tournament. They had some really athletic sequences. I know one in particular was the dive sequences where I forget exactly what. I think it was like Sonata was going for a crossbody, and then Tama went back in the ring to avoid it. Sonata lands on the apron, and then Sonata counters, hops back over, and does another cross, and actually hits the crossbody. I thought it was really well done, and just shows how smooth these guys are. I thought they had really good chemistry. I think Sonata's a really good wrestler. He proved it with his big title match earlier in the year, and so I think he was able to kind of help move this match along. One of my notes I wrote down was I'm still not sold on Tama, especially if they're going to push him as a big, ace of the OG faction. I'm just not sold on him. I think a big thing I had noticed kind of is his style. He's very frantic and very, that's his thing, is to be kind of like a wild animal in the ring. And I think it's good for his kind of gimmick, especially now with the whole no fucks given attitude. I think it hurts his wrestling ability though, because there will be points where everything just looks a little too sloppy because he's really trying to go over the top for these big kind of I don't know, they're not gimmicky, but it's charismatic kind of way of selling things, of going over the top, really trying to go over the top with his actions. And I think it kind of holds him back from what he can actually do, because I think the guy's he has the chain wrestling down. He's got the smoothness in the ring. I think he has the potential to be a great wrestler, but I think he tries to go too much over the top that it makes him appear sloppy when maybe he isn't really. But it just doesn't have a good image. I also wrote down that the interference is wearing down on me. I just don't. I don't think, like I said in my last video, I don't think it really has a great place in the G1. But again, maybe this is the right place to do it, as opposed to just like normal matches and big title matches. That maybe they get it all out of the way in the G1, and then you don't see it a whole lot in the other matches. But I doubt it, just because that's the route they're going. I don't see the big benefit other than just getting massive heat on them. I did like the finish though, which is what I wrote down. It was a great finish with Fale and Loa coming out for trying to do the interference, and then Sonata, runs Tama into one of them. I think it was Loa, and then has the back roll with the bridge into the roll up pin. I mean, Sonata was playing babyface the entire match. He's so loved over there, as is the rest of Lij, that it makes sense going up against the new super heel in Tama Tonga to have like the sneak win on a roll up. And I mean, the crowd was fired up for it, especially that getting the win. I mean, they were counting loud for that pin, and they popped really loud whenever he got the win. So I enjoyed the finish. I do think this was my least favorite match of the night, though. It didn't. Yeah, I think it comes down to, and it wasn't even chemistry this time, because I think they did have good chemistry. I think, and Sonata just carried his weight a lot more than Tama could. And I'm just still not sold on Tama yet, and I hope he can change it around. But with the story they're telling and of all the constant interferences and whatnot, I just don't think he'll be able to get a chance to. Okay, so the second match of the night was Yano and ZSJ. This was a really fun match. Of course, they open it up, and Yano's actually going for technical sequences, and the crowd's just eating it up. They're just cheering so loud, and anytime he shows any kind of technical prowess, he starts the match like trying to go for a turnbuckle, and then okay, I'll stop, and then starts doing exchanges with ZSJ, and the crowd's just getting, oh my god, like he actually has some skill. But I thought it was a really good opening to it. They had really great chemistry, because it's I also wrote down that ZSJ was such a great opponent for Yano, especially with the story they're telling of Yano trying to escape his cheating ways. ZSJ with his technical prowess is such a good counter to him, because it's Yano's like, okay, I won't cheat, I'm going to show off my technical skills, and then ZSJ can just beat him down and beat him at any technical aspect he wants to. That it just pisses Yano off, and he's just so frustrated that he starts trying to cheat, and he's like, no, I can't, and then gets outpowered again. And the chemistry between the two was really great. The outside spots were great. With the, Zach's got an armbar on Yano until like the 15-second mark, and then runs back in the ring, and then Yano gets back in at 19, and then another spot where Zach goes outside and ties him up on the guardrail and has the submission till like 18, and then runs back into the ring, and Yano escapes and dives in right as Marty's about to count to 20. It was just great, and the crowd's of course just eating it up, and they're having fun. And I like the roll up finish, because it kind of ties into Yano's thing of always trying to get the roll ups, and of course Yano goes for the low blow, but he doesn't get it, and then Zach rolls him up. So I thought it was a little weird to have two roll-up finishes in a row, but for those matches and the way they played out, I thought it ended up being good finishes for both of them. But this was a fun match. It's fun actually watching Yano like do like real wrestling moves instead of just going for the comedy act. I really enjoy it. He's actually showing that he has some ability, especially for being in the weird shape that he is. But it's fun. It's definitely a change of pace from anything I'm used to, because I didn't start watching until the middle of 2016. So this is a definite change that I'm really enjoying. But yeah, I thought this was definitely my fourth favorite match of the night. I mean, it wasn't anything great, but it was definitely better than the first match, enjoyment factor wise for me. The third match was Juice and Ibushi. I really enjoyed this match. It was an interesting decision to have Juice lose. This was kind of what I had written down. It was an interesting decision because now Juice starts 0-2. Of course, please go watch his post-com. I know it was just uploaded overnight, this past night. Go watch his post-match comments. because man, he is the perfect babyface champion. He's just like, well, shit, I'm 0-2. I could go 0-9. And there's going to be a line around the block to challenge me for the U.S. title, and I'm going to just put him, I'm going to have a busy fall. I mean, it's just he's such a great babyface champion, and to have that sell. So please go watch his post-match comments if you haven't seen him already. I thought this was a good. The opening of this match was a good technical opening. Juice doesn't really get to show his technical prowess, but in Ibushi matches, he really likes to show off the fact that he's very technically sound, as well as all the high flying Daredevil shit, which is great. And that's a kind of the recipe for an Ibushi match, and really what makes or breaks it is if his opponent is good at technical wrestling, like all the chain stuff, which Juice proved tonight that he is. If they can hit hard, because Ibushi likes to smack some people up with those shin guards. And of course, Juice has those great chops and the great strikes and really good clotheslines. So I mean, the hard hitting factor was there. And then of course, guys that are able to kind of match the style either with or against Ibushi's high flying. And I thought Juice has a more grounded style anyway. But there was the great counter early on of the Ibushi going for the golden triangle moonsault and misses, and Juice instantly gets on the apron and does the cannonball off the apron. I mean, and then it was constantly going for the cannonball throughout the match. I thought that was really good. I thought it was well done. So they have a really good mix there. Of course, the note I actually wrote down was Ibushi is nuts because if you guys haven't seen it, I'm assuming you have at this point. But Ibushi has Juice between the gate at Korakuen, which is a very narrow. If you haven't seen many matches at Korakuen, those gates are pretty narrow for the pathways. And then Ibushi gets up on the turnbuckle and then gets up on the ring post that's mounded. It's not like it's a flat top on that ring post. It's a rounded post, and gets on the top and balances perfectly, and hits a picture-perfect moonsault through the gate to hit Juice. I mean, he landed. You couldn't ask for a better landing. And Juice catches him very nice. There's actually a picture here that you could see it. Juice catches him perfectly. Any degree left or right, he could have hit that gate and been terrible. Could have broken a rib. But of course, it's Ibushi. He lands it perfectly. I loved it. I thought the finish was really good, especially with the great counter to the Pulp Friction into the Kamigoye. The last 2 minutes were really good. But yeah, like Juice said, it's gonna be a busy fall for him. I don't know what they have set up. I doubt he'll win his next 7, just because he also has to face guys like Naito, guys like Kenny. I don't know, to have a U.S. champion and not to have. It's like they had this planned out before he won the belt. Because this is how I might have predicted it if he didn't have the belt. Like, Ibushi's gonna get his win over him. Tom will beat him because he's got this big push, and then all these big names will go over him anyway. But for him to be the U.S. champion and constantly people are beating him, it kind of devalues the belt a little bit, especially the first night. Have him losing to Tama. I know Tama's getting a big push, but to have just a random guy that beat up his buddy at the last show and then beat your U.S. champion, that I know the belt had gone down since Jay had won it, but I mean it's still a top. I mean it's better than the never belt. So to have your champion start 0-2 is a real interesting decision. I trust Gato though. He's probably got it all planned out to a T, and and 6 months later we're gonna look back and be like, why were we worried? So I bet you he has a plan for it. So I'm not too worried. I'm just real interested to see where they go from here. But it was a great match and definitely my third favorite of the evening. Of course, semifinal personally was my match of the night. Ishii and Naito. What's more there to say? I heard on commentary they had 5 matches, 5 singles matches, with Naito having the 3-2 edge, and all 5 of those matches have been classics, and this one was no different. This thing was just hot, beginning to end, and that's what I wrote down. As soon as that bell rang, man, those chants were starting loud. Korakuen's a big fan of Naito anyway, especially since Wrestle Kingdom. Anytime they go there, the crowd's hot for Naito. So this was going to be no different. Ishii's just going to, take his licks and dish out some damage. He's not going to care about the crowd one way or the other. So, but the crowd was into it from moment one. So it just made the match that much more entertaining. Of course, the trades are great. Ishii beats the shit out of Naito, and Naito was actually throwing in some big chops. Those big overhand chops that he doesn't pull out too often. And he was getting some good strikes in. It was. And of course, Ishii goes on the rampage and puts Naito in the corner and starts doing the chops to the throat, which, God, it makes you want to choke on whatever you're drinking at that time. Man, those are tough to look at. Of course, they had some callbacks to some spots from the rivalry, which, of course, big shout out to Kevin Kelly on commentary, because I didn't know a lot of I don't know if I had seen, I have now, but I don't know if I had seen at the time their 5 matches, or knew what they were. But Kevin Kelly's on commentary there to help you out, know what their records are. They've only faced once in G1 action, which was last year. Ishii got the win, which is why they had the briefcase match last year. So huge shout out to Kevin Kelly. If you guys aren't as super familiar with New Japan or want to learn more history, please watch the English commentary. Kevin's on every show. He knows the matchups. He's very passionate. He's the perfect commentator to listen to. He's helping Rocky out because Rocky's kind of learning how to transition into a broadcaster, and he really helps him out a lot. So big shout out to Kevin Kelly. But of course they had the fighting spirit spots, which the biggest one is of course the springboard drop kick that Naito bounces off Ishii because Ishii's just I'm not going down. It was beautiful. Ishii is so good at selling and bringing out those fighting spirit spots when it's needed. He has such good timing with those, and it makes sense when you look at him. Of course, the guy's 5'2", but when you look at him, you're like, yeah, that guy should be able to take a hit. And he just pulled it out perfectly during this match. I thought the whole match was kind of a reversal clinic. There was constantly, I think that helped with the rivalry continuity is constantly knowing what the other guy's moves are. At this point, this is their 6th single match, and so there's constantly times where they're each going for moves. I think it was, I forget exactly what set it up, but I know Ishii countered something that put Naito on the ground, and then he went for the diving or the sliding lariat, and Naito counters, and then they had another counter. They know each other so well that the whole match really is just how to reverse the other guy's moves, which I thought worked well because that is the kind of their rivalry to a T. And of course the last 2 minutes were near perfection. The crowd is just as loud as they could be, and that included the sliding lariat counter spots, and then Ishii actually hitting the sliding lariat, and then finally Naito hits a half Destino, then hits a full one for the win. Naito really needed the win, especially with Ishii already having 2 points. It was perfect to have Naito actually get the win. I don't have. I'm a Kenny Omega fan. I prefaced this in my G1 predictions video. I'm a Kenny Omega fan. This was match of the night, and we'll talk about here in a minute. Meltzer had his ratings, and the fact that this wasn't his match of the night is I don't know. I need to see. I guess I need to probably watch them again to really understand where my differences lie. Of course, the main event was Hiroki Goto and Kenny Omega, the rematch from the G126 finals, with Goto trying to get his revenge win. I thought this was a really good. Of course, this is a great match. Second favorite match of the night, second best match of the night. Definitely a rival, personally, for match of the night. I thought the opening was really good. It was a great chain wrestling opening, which Kenny kind of gets to show off, or they both kind of get to show off. Goto not as much because of the style that he works. He doesn't get to show off his technical chain wrestling prowess at the beginning that much, and so with a guy like Kenny, they really can. And it's really a testament to how far Kenny, especially, but these two have grown in the 2 years since they fought. Because Kenny at the time was coming off of, just being promoted to Bullet Club leader, and then won the IC title, held that for 4 months or whatever, and then dropped it and was going into his first G1. And this was at the end because he was in the finals. It was his last match of the G1. He's wearing the baggy tights and everything. It's not the Kenny Omega we know now. I mean, that was the start, sure, but. And I think that maybe comes down. I'll talk about it a little bit at the end of the match, kind of why I like that match better than this one. I thought it was really good that they had Goto gets on the outside barricade, and then it was such a beautifully shot camera where they have the dive kind of put up, and Kenny's gonna go for the big cross body, and then all of a sudden, like a Braun Strowman style chair just gets thrown at him in the ring from Goto. I thought it was beautiful. The camera work was great on it because you don't even see him, and just this chair comes flying out of nowhere. I thought it was beautifully, it was well done, and then it was shot beautifully by New Japan. Of course, they have the most insane brawling spots of the night. Kenny, scoop slams Goto right on that bleacher. Oh my god, the sound it made! It makes you cringe. It's like I even it adjusted my back in just sitting watching the match because it just hurt, and you could see the pain on Goto's face when they zoom in. It's just you could tell that didn't feel good. And then of course Kenny's just you saw Ibushi do the ring post moonsault. He's like, all right, I got to do something better, and crawls up in the stands and does a moonsault off the thin ass barricade onto Goto and all the young boys. For Goto's style and for Kennedy to kind of match it and do like the outside brawling, I thought it was great. It really added to the match. One of my notes is that both of them looked fantastic and they sold well. Each guy had their moment. Goto would counter something, and so the next minute or two he'd be in charge and he'd have the advantage, and Kenny really is obviously, he can oversell at points, but when he needs to, he can sell very well. And he was selling really well for Goto, made him look great. And then Goto, for his credit, is a great seller as well, and especially with Kenny being the heavyweight champ and being a new wrestler than he was 2 years ago, to have Goto sell more, kind of shows the growth in Kenny as a wrestler compared to the last time they had a match. I thought it was great. In the final three minutes of the match, and at one point, Goto busts out his old Young Lion finisher, which is the code red top rope counter, it was great. It was a great move. But the final 3 minutes are just fantastic. And they're not. I don't think they're as good as the Ishii Naito final 2 minutes, but they're up there with some of the best finishing sequences of the entire tournament so far. But yeah, I thought this. I think if Ishii and Naito didn't kill it as much as they did, this would have been match of the night. Which it's the main event. I mean, it should be match of the night, and it was definitely close. But Ishii and Naito, the combination of those two is just phenomenal. But that's all my notes. Let me go look at the ratings though. So far, we'll kind of go through them. Of course, night one, where you had Makabe. This is all, Dave Meltzer star ratings. So whatever weight that holds to you, you can judge from there. I personally use them kind of as a guide. I'll have my own thinking. Even if they're a full, 3/4 star off, like personally, I still think they're around the same. I'm not gonna really complain too much. It's one guy's opinion. I think he's I enjoy looking at the star ratings and everything, but I don't take them to heart like a lot of people on Twitter seem to do. And people like to be way too negative. It's just a guide. It's the guy said it himself. So it's just whatever weight it holds to you is what you can think when you hear these numbers. So Makabe and Yoshihashi from night one was 3.5. I think that's fair. Like I said in my review, I thought Yoshihashi looked great, and Makabe ended up doing really well. So that's probably a fair rating. Hangman Foley's 3.25, 3.25. Yeah, it's probably fair, especially 8-minute match interference. Hangman looked good. Really not much that you can say about that. Elgin Evil was 4 stars. I didn't see it. I mean, that was my least favorite match of the night. Probably would have put it at the 3.5 range. But, hey, obviously there's some guys that like that style better. I just didn't think Evil looked really good that night, so that's just on me. Tanahashi Suzuki getting 4.5. I thought that was really good because I think their last one got either 4 3/4 or 5 from this year. And I do think this one was slightly below that one. But I still thought it was a really good match. So 4.5 is very fair. And then Jay White and Okada is 4. Yeah, that's probably fair. I personally would have said probably like 4 1/4, but of course, quarter difference really means nothing. Um, so I think that's a good place to put that match, especially with all the the outside spots and all the weird the cheating stuff. I mean, that's just how Jay White's gonna do his match. So I think 4-star kind of might be the limit for that style of match. We have night 2, which is Ishii Yano got 3.5. It's great to see Yano have like a really good rating for a match. It's really fun because usually he gets like 0.5, 1, 1 1/4. So I actually see him get a good rating for a match. And of course, that match had a lot of storytelling and a lot of background that kind of helped boost that. Tama and Juice at 2.5 stars. Yeah, that's fair because that match was not good. And Juice really was kind of held down, I think, by... And it proves it by tonight's ratings, which we'll get to in a bit. Juice was held down by Tama in that match. And of course, all the the disqualification and interference angles, it's like... It wasn't a good match. Goto Sanada was 4 1/4. I think that's good. I think that's a good rating. Especially like the way both guys performed tonight, going against each other. That was a good start for them, and I thought it was a good match. Of course, ZSJ and Ibushi 4 3/4. I mean, those guys killed each other. They had such a good New Japan Cup match this year that you knew they were going to put on some magic together, and I think that's a great rating. Kenny Naito getting 5 stars. Perfect. That crowd was hot. The match was phenomenal. Those two just kill it every time they have a singles match. Now that's 3 singles matches they've had, and the rating is now a total of 15 3/4 stars. I mean, which is an average of over 5 stars per match because they've had 3 singles, which is the G126 B Block Finals. They had a 5-star match. The finals, the overall finals last year, which was 5 3/4, and then night 2 this year they have a 5-star match. I mean, it's just, and I can't disagree with any of those ratings because I mean, like, that was a perfect match. I thought it definitely worthy of the 5-star rating, personally. Night 3, Elgin Page, 4 stars, great rating. I thought Page looked really good in that match. Like I said in my video, I think that's a really good rating for them, especially Page is a guy that doesn't, he hasn't had that kind of big stand-up performance yet. I thought that really was one for him. And going into his Okada match, I thought that was a great thing to work off of. Evil versus Yoshihashi at 3 1/4. That's fine. Like I said, that was my least favorite match of the night. It was just going to be like that. Yoshihashi looked okay, but like I said, I think Evil oversold, and it kind of took the match down for me personally. Makabe and Suzuki getting 4 1/4 and getting the best rating of the night was fair. Like I said, that was the most entertaining match of the entire night. And I definitely agree with that. I might have even given it 4.5. That it was that fun and that good. Fale Okada getting 3 1/4. Yeah, I mean, that works for all the interference stuff. And those guys together, it's weird because you think they'd have a good dynamic, but their matches together haven't been amazing. So that's probably a fair rating. And then White Tanahashi getting a 4-star because it was almost cookie cutter similar to the Okada match. Tanahashi got a little more offense in and a little more trading of the cheating, but I mean, I think Jay White's kind of ceiling right now is something like a 4-star. But I think that comes down to the of the hiding his weaknesses right now because he's still developing as a wrestler. And then the night we just went over, night 4, Sanada and Tama got 3.5. I think that's fair. It was the worst match of the night personally, or my least favorite. So 3.5 is probably fine. Again, I think Sanada gets 4 1/4 with Goto on night 2, and he gets 3.5 with Tama, and then we'll get to later on what Juice got. I mean, it's just Tama's just not having a good tournament. Zach and Yano getting 3 3/4, perfect. To get a better, it's weird, and I thought that's probably fair to get a little bit better than the Ishii match because I thought this was a better match. This might be Yano's best match ever. It's such a fun match. It's a real quick match to watch, 10 minutes, and it's just really fun. And Zach just played it up so well that it was just a really fun match. Ibushi Juice getting 4.5, perfect. It was a really good match. And like I said, Juice gets a 2.5, match rating, 2.5 stars on night 2 with Tama, and then gets 4.5 with Ibushi. Not one wrestler, changing one wrestler in and out, just even, does not give you a 2-star jump like that. I mean, that is Juice performing and Tama dragging him down, and then tonight Juice performing and Ibushi bringing him up. That's just it's going to show how Tama is just not having a good tournament, and he really needs to step it up if he's going to be this big ace in a big faction or something, because he's just not proven it yet. This is kind of where my disagreements come in. Naito and Ishii getting 4 3/4. I think personally it was a 5-star match. I thought the match was perfect. It built off all of their other matches. It was a good length. Naito getting the win and his first win in the tournament. The crowd was hot all night for bell to bell for that match. The final 2 minutes was near perfection. They were constantly countering each other's moves. I thought it was a 5-star match. Of course, 4 3/4 is not much to argue about. It's just crossing that threshold into 5. Whereas Kenny and Goto, he gave 5 stars, and I personally thought that probably was 4 3/4. I think if you would just flip that around, I think the last time they had a match, Kenny and Goto, was 4 3/4 at the G1 Finals. But I liked that match better. But I think it comes down to they were probably about the same. Kenny wasn't as good of a wrestler as he is now, but they had better storytelling aspects with like the Styles Clash, the Bloody Sunday, the going for the Phoenix Splash, and the Golden Star Powerbomb, and all these big storytelling aspects for Kenny. I brought that match up, whereas they didn't need it for this one because Kenny's grown as a wrestler so much, and so is Goto, that they could go out there and have a match. But I do personally think I would flip those around. Again, 0.25 is not much to argue about, but I definitely think Naito and Ishii did cross that 5-star threshold, whereas I think Kenny and Goto just didn't quite get there. But to have Kenny now has had his first 2 tournament nights as champion, he's had 5-star matches. I mean, if people thought that maybe his quality would dip as being champion, they would be very wrong. I mean, the guy just, you knew as soon as he'd get the belt, he's going to try and prove that he deserved the belt, and this is a great start. He had a pretty good match with Cody out in San Francisco. He had that amazing tag match in Florida with Ibushi against Naito and Hiromu, and then now he's had 2 perfect singles matches in the first 2 nights of the G1. So it's just, he is the rightful champion at this point. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. That's it for this video. Please share this video if you have some friends that maybe don't know a whole lot about New Japan and want to get into it. Please share this video with them, and then please subscribe if you enjoy. I'm going to be putting out all these videos and whatnot. So again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you either later today or again tomorrow for a review of day 5.